fellow readers. My name is Greg, and this is Ghost Readers in the Sky, where I read the literature and history of the American West, and then I gallop off from there into whatever direction I want to. But today we are talking about a novel of the West. Whether it's a Western or not, I'll leave it to you to decide. But this is part of the series, The Books That Made Me. And this is James Michener, Centennial. Getting a lot of glare off the plastic there, but you can see what that is. This is a hardcover that I have now. When I read it this came out in 1974. I read it in about 1977 because that's when the miniseries was made. And I had a copy, the paperback copy, with the mini-series cover, and I'll put a picture up here somewhere, probably. So while I have the big hardback 1,000-page, however many pages are in this novel, it's huge. I started reading it in 1977 when the miniseries was made. Michener wrote this in 1974, and the miniseries starred in the very first episode, Robert Conrad, and I was already a huge fan of the Wild Wild West. I was watching those reruns after school every day. Robert Conrad as James West, Ross Martin as Artemus Gordon, part of the president's secret security detail. I said that wrong. Yeah, whatever. They were part of protecting the president. And there was always some kind of plot against his life. And he had some great villains. Dr. Lovelace, of course, was the king of the villains, played by Michael Dunn. That was just, he was great, and I love to watch James West and Artemus Gordon go up against him. Agnes Moorehead played a villain on one of the episodes, and that was fantastic. Anyway, I didn't come here to talk about the Wild Wild West, even though that's what I've been doing for the last 2 minutes. And it's a great show, and if you get a chance to see it, you should. You can skip the movie with Will Smith and Kenneth Branagh and Kevin Kline. But the television series, worth watching. So anyway, I was already a big fan of Robert Conrad, and he was in the first parts of the miniseries, the first episode or two. I don't remember exactly how it was split up. He played Pasquinel, the French fur trapper, and when I found out Robert Conrad was in it, I watched it. I was hooked. Of course, Richard Chamberlain was also in it because he was in every miniseries that was made in the 1970s and 80s. You could not make a miniseries without putting Richard Chamberlain in. It apparently was illegal. He was in the Thornbirds and Shogun and so many others. Anyway, I've digressed again. I was watching the miniseries, and that stretched out over a couple of months. I don't remember how many episodes or how many hours there were, but the way it was aired, as opposed to Roots, which had come out probably a year or two before, and Roots they played every night. It was like a 10-day event, but there were episodes every night. And the way Centennial was broadcast, it was done mostly on the weekends. They kind of did a big preview and it started, but then through the week they wouldn't play much, but they'd play 4 to 6 hours on Saturdays and Sundays. You could look up the broadcast schedule if you want to. It's out there in the internet. But what that let me do is I saw that. I loved those first episodes, especially with Robert Conrad, and I went out and got the book. And I got the paperback copy that was the tie-in to the miniseries. Same book, just a cover, a miniseries cover. And I started reading it, and I'm pretty sure I finished the book long before the miniseries finished because I loved it so much. It was my introduction to James Michener. It was the first really long book I had ever read, and I just gobbled it up. Loved it. And it made me really love James Michener. And after that, I read a number of his works. I read Poland, I read Chesapeake, I read Space, and some others. I did go back and read some of the earlier ones like Caravan, and I did not enjoy that one as much. But when it was focused on a particular area and you watch the generations come through, I love those. That's how Poland was done. That's how Chesapeake was done. The Covenant, set in South Africa, done that same way. And I loved James Michener and still do. So yeah, this was a book that made me. Centennial by James Michener. Thanks to Robert Conrad and the Wild Wild West for introducing me. And then I read so many of Michener's books after that and still love James Michener. So there it is, one more of the books that made me, the part of this series. And I got lots more of these planned. So I hope you continue to watch the series. Thanks so much for tuning in today, whatever tuning in means these days. Thanks so much for watching. And until next time, my name is Greg. This is Ghost Readers in the Sky. Keep on reading and rereading, even if you have a book that is this thick.